Today, we're going to be sampling, tasting, and I'll be telling you a little bit about the story of Courvoisier X.O, beautiful XO cognac from Jarnac in France. You're watching Bespoke Unit, and my name is Reinhard. Welcome to this review, and pour yourselves a great glass. The House of Courvoisier sits proudly next to the Charente riverbed in Jarnac in Cognac, right in the heart of the Cognac region. It's the southwestern part of France, not far from Bordeaux, and the area of Cognac, the production area, is made up of 6 individual crus: Grande Champagne, Petite Champagne, Borderies, Fines Bois, and the Bois ordinaire. The House of Courvoisier mainly uses the 4 primary crus: Grande Champagne, Petite, Borderies, and the Fines Bois. With this particular blend here, the XO, which means that every single drop that is in that bottle needs to be aged for a minimum of 10 years, we're looking into casks that have been stored and matured for roughly between 11 and 25 years of age. They are then carefully assembled into this wonderful blend, or the assemblage, as the people in Cognac say, under the watchful eye of the current Courvoisier master blender or cellar master, Patrice Pivet. What's interesting about the house style of Courvoisier is that all the distillates, all the different eaux-de-vie are distilled on the lees. So with the yeast residue after the fermentation of the base wines, which gives it a little more body, a little bit more depth and character when you're ultimately tasting these different eaux-de-vie. For the maturation, Courvoisier uses a combination of fine grain oak and white grain oak. The whiter grain oak, usually referred to as Limousin style oak, brings a little more spice, a little more character, and more astringency due to the tannic note of that particular type of oak cask. Whereas the finer grain, usually called Française oak, is a little more on an elegant, subtle, creamy, almost vanilla-y side, and brings a certain balance, a certain mellowness, and tames down the characteristics of the Limousin oak quite a bit. So in general, Courvoisier to me is always very elegant, very refined, and it brings a smooth experience on your palate, whereas some other cognacs might be a little more on the tannic, astringent, and spicy side. So let's get right into it. I'm gonna pour a glass and then we're gonna try this wonderful XO cognac together. First of all, if we look at the bottle right here, it's got that lovely ornate shape of a drop, the typical gold and violet colors that Courvoisier now proudly states with their branding, and the emblem of Napoleon right here on top, because Courvoisier still to this day is known as the cognac of Napoleon. Other than that, there's a little bit of information on the label, and it's also referring to the Eiffel Tower, because Courvoisier was served at the opening of the Eiffel Tower and the Global World Expo back in the days. On the back, there's a little bit of writing, a few tasting notes, but we're obviously gonna make up our own tasting notes. So I'll get right to it. And usually when tasting beautiful spirits, we're starting right with the hue, with the robe and the visual of the liquid. Now, I've got to tell you that with cognac, as with other spirits like whiskey, rum, and in general dark spirits, quite a few of them would allow coloring with E150 or sugar caramel. So the simple appearance will not always be the perfect indication of age, maturity, or quality of the spirit. But it can give you an indication of how long and in what type of cask the spirit has been aged. In this particular case, we're looking at a very dark, golden, towards mahogany color. We've got some thick, oily legs running down the side of the glass here. There's plenty of viscosity, and by that we could already expect a certain depth and weight on the palate. The legs ran down very slowly, and usually you're seeing I'm using a nosing glass here. I'm a big fan of using a standardized nosing glass for all various types of spirits. I know with Cognac you usually have a bulkier, wider, larger glass, which sometimes can make for a great feeling when you have that glass in your hand, but it's probably not the ultimate solution or not the very best solution, just in terms of the aromatics and the aromas and flavors coming to your nose, and also the way the liquid flows on your palate. So I usually recommend a small, simple nosing glass, or you could also go for a standard white wine glass if it's not too big. After the visuals, I gently stick my nose into the glass. I wait for the primary aromas to come to my nose and reveal some of the depth, some of the aromatic characteristics that we can expect from this beautiful XO. Rich, elegant, it's floral. I get a little bit of iris and violet. Usually the Borderies cru is responsible for that beautiful violet and iris characteristic, but also Grande and Petite Champagne can make, after a long period of aging, for a very elegant and floral characteristic. It's all paired with dried fruits. I get dried figs, prunes, and in the back, a very mellow, very rich, sweet and luscious raisin characteristics, fresh grapes as well. So a lot of the winey character still. There's a certain elegance and freshness to the overall aromatic profile, but with subtle floral undertones, with a lot of depth, a lot of complexity right here, and a rather diverse nose. Towards the end of the nasal expression, I get some marzipan, I get a little bit of an orange peel, almonds, and it's all elegantly rounded off by a luscious vanilla note that ties it all together. So let's take a sip. On the palate, a very soft and mellow opening. Dry, just a little bit of sweetness that's coming in the very back and towards the finish of the sip that I just took. I still get a lot of winey freshness, as we already sensed in the olfactory perception. It's a very elegant balance of that freshness where you still get a lot of the winey characteristics, but the depth and the complexity of 20 plus years of aging is very prominent already. Some spices are there, a little bit of cinnamon, cloves and nutmeg towards the very end. I also get some of the stewed and dried fruits yet again. It reminds me of the prunes that we had in the nose, but it's also accompanied by dried apricots. The almonds certainly are back into the overall picture as well. Again, a rather toasted, charred, almondy note in combination with the woodiness and some of the dry spice and astringency that I feel on the side of the tongue, and it prolongs the finish. It takes the overall sensation into a very long, very elegant, and perfectly refined finish. The mouthfeel is creamy, it's full-bodied. It's got a lot of weight on the palate without being overly heavy. The alcohol is perfectly woven into the overall experience. As with most cognacs, we're looking into an ABV level of 40% volume, and that makes for a very refined and charming sensation on the palate. There's still new aromatic qualities emerging. There's still new flavors that I can detect here and there. So you can go back to this cognac for an hour 30, 2 hours, and you will always find new layers. You will always find new little details in there that keep you excited and that keep you coming back for more. A very complex, a very refined, and superbly balanced XO from Courvoisier. Now, the label, it looks elegant, it looks slick. It's a beautifully packaged liquid, and it speaks to the overall presentation of that exceptional cognac. The packaging, there is a beautiful box that it comes in with, which I do not have here with me right now, but you can certainly check it out on our website and online as well. It's a very occasional drink still. Price range is affordable, and the value for money that you're getting with this one is exceptional. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of pairing cigars with high alcoholic beverages and neat spirits, this is a cognac that would sit proudly next to an elegant Ecuador Habano wrapped cigar. I would love to try this cognac, and I would recommend you do so with some roasted almonds. Could be slightly salted, dried apricots if you want to go for some finger food snacks, or you could certainly have this with an elegant dessert like crêpe Suzette that can be flamed, because you get a little bit of an orange peel, dried orange character with this sip of cognac. And it would also sit nicely and proudly besides a piece of brioche with a little bit of foie gras and maybe an orange jelly. You could certainly pour this into cocktails as well, even though most people would probably recommend trying it neat for the first time. You could add a dollop of water, a little bit of ice if you want to try it in a different way, but just be aware of the fact that the ice will take away some of the aromatic depth and bind some of the flavors. Thus, it will be a more pronounced, slightly slimmer experience, but still an enjoyable experiment if you enjoy having your spirits on ice. When it comes to cocktails, a Sazerac with the Courvoisier X.O would make for a fabulous beverage, no doubt about it. And the very same would be true for a Vieux Carré or a Harvard cocktail, which is pretty much a cognac-based Manhattan variation. Another beverage that you could certainly mix up with the Courvoisier X.O is the classical sidecar, or a New Orleans classic, the brandy cruster. Give it a try, it's worth it. And I always believe that the better your ingredients that you pour into a cocktail, the better the cocktail will be. Play around with it, have fun, try it in different situations. It's certainly a luxurious, very elegant and refined beverage that will suit many different occasions, and I'm fully convinced you are not going to be disappointed by this beautiful XO. That's it for today. I wish you a wonderful tasting experience with the Courvoisier X.O. And so I'll see you next time here on Bespoke Unit with my very best wishes and spirits.